Hello and welcome to the Whoniverse and to another installment of the History of Doctor Who series. This time I'm going to be taking a closer look at the history of the Zygons, shape-changing aliens who are calculating as they are gruesome. We don't know too much about the Zygons, like how they began or evolved, but we have got numerous records of their appearances throughout the universe of Doctor Who. So let's begin with the earliest in-universe sighting. Now, at some point early in time, the Zygons joined Rassilon in the alliance of races against the Hyperions in the comic The Hyperion Empire. After the Hyperions were defeated, the Alliance then went on to purge the universe of other threats to universal harmony, in the comic Gangland. According to one account, the Zygons were originally at war with the Zeranti. During the war, both the Zygon homeworld, Zygor, and the Zeranti home planets were destroyed. This is seen in the book called The Body Snatchers. Another account claimed that their planet burnt in the first days of the last Great Time War. This was mentioned in the episode The Day of the Doctor. In the year 102 AD, the Zygons were among the races who joined the Alliance at Stonehenge. They came to Stonehenge and helped imprison the 11th Doctor in the Pandorica, to quote-unquote save the universe in the Pandorica Opens. At some point before the 12th century, a Zygon ship was damaged and forced to land on Earth near Devil's Punch Bowl in Scotland. They had a Scourgeon with them which, though still an infant at that point, provided them the lactic fluid they needed to survive. This is mentioned in Terror of the Zygons. In 1562, a Zygon force was on Earth and investigated by the 10th Doctor, one of them impersonating Elizabeth I. After the real Elizabeth killed her impersonator, the Zygons implanted themselves into stasis cubes, planning to wait until Earth was more suitable for conquest. This is shown in The Day of the Doctor. It was mentioned in the episode The Power of Three that a Zygon ship was trapped under the Savoy Hotel. During the grand opening in 1890, Zygons replaced half the staff, but the 11th Doctor, Amy Pond, and Rory Williams stopped them. Then the 8th Doctor, Sam Jones, and George Lightfoot encountered a group of Zygons in London in 1894 in the book The Body Snatchers. Another ship from Zygor arrived on Earth in 1909. Though they had brought 2 Scourgeon with them, their minds were damaged by the solar radiation during the destruction of Zygor. One was killed during repairs. Though the Zygon attempted to conquer Earth anyway, starvation and the 10th Doctor forced them to abandon their plans. This was shown in the book Sting of the Zygons. Also in the 20th century, a Zygon spaceship landed in the Brentford Quarry. The Zygons of Devil's Punch Bowl decided to take over Earth and physically adapt it to the environment more suited to their species. Unit and the 4th Doctor stopped them, freeing the Scourgeon. The Scourgeon soon became known as the Loch Ness Monster, and these events happened in the serial Terror of the Zygons. In 1984, the 8th Doctor and Lucy Miller encountered a Zygon who was impersonating Lucy's aunt, Patricia Ryder, in the audio story The Zygon Who Fell to Earth. In the early 21st century, the Zygons that were frozen in 1562 woke from their stasis cubes and infiltrated UNIT, gaining access to the technology in the Black Archive. To prevent them using the technology, Kate Stewart activated the countdown to a nuclear warhead beneath the archive. Before the countdown reached 0, the 10th, 11th, and War Doctors temporarily erased the memories of the original Kate, Osgood, and McGillip, as well as their Zygon impersonators, causing them to forget which ones were human and which ones were Zygon. Both Kate cancelled the detonation, and the humans and Zygons were able to create a peace treaty between them. When no one was looking, the Zygon copy of Osgood slipped the original's inhaler back to her. This was seen in the episode The Day of the Doctor. 2 years later, a rebel faction of Zygons led by Bonnie, or Zygella, began to undermine the ceasefire. Bonnie had taken the form of the Doctor's friend at the time, Clara Oswald, and was determined to expose the 20 million Zygons living on Earth, and conquer Earth's land, but this scenario was diffused by the contingency developed by the 12th Doctor, involving 2 Osgood boxes which were designed to lead to a peaceful treaty between the 2 species, human and Zygon. These events took place in a 2-part story known as the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion. Many years later, in 2765, Zygons attempted to melt Earth's polar ice caps, but were stopped by Initech's Vigilante laser defense satellites. This was shown in the book Original Sin. This is the last we've seen of the Zygons, however it is more than likely they were present at the Siege of Trenzalore in the far future. Now the occasions I have mentioned are all from BBC licensed products. But if you want more Zygons, then during the lengthy gap between Survival and Rose, also known as the gap between Classic and New Who, a company known as BBV Productions created a range of Zygon stories, including an audio adventure known as Homeland, which was set in 1999, and a film known as Zygon When Being You Just Isn't Enough, where the Zygon Torlak and Kritak were deployed on Earth, where they took the forms of Bob Coolhan and Michael Kirkwood, respectively. They then began to go to nuclear power plants around the world so that 70 years later the planet would be more suited to Zygons, and they could hand the planet over to a Zygon invasion force. The plan backfired when Kritak began to believe he was Michael Kirkwood. Now these BPV productions can be placed into the history I've just explained if you would like, with the dates I've just given, but I personally felt it was easier to explain them separately and leave the decision to your personal opinion to avoid potential confusion. Overall, we don't know too much about the Zygons, such as how they evolved or came to be. All we know is the Zygons aren't necessarily pure monsters. They can be negotiated and reasoned with. But how difficult would it be to negotiate with something, wearing your own face? The Zygons are pretty underused, and I would love to see them return. With that then, it's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to show your support for the channel. And keep up to date with the new videos coming soon. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.